I already did, so you should be golden.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome back to the Spiritual Uplevel Podcast. I'm your host, Jeri Cristine, and I am so excited to be interviewing my guest today, Teresa Wornstaff. Teresa is an intuitive channel, and she helps people in their lives as well as their businesses. And Teresa, I want you to start by telling our guests, what is an intuitive channel? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeri. First, thank you for having me on the podcast. I can't wait to share some wisdom with your audience. And thank you for the question. An intuitive channel is somebody who has intuitive gifts. And for me, I also have the gift of channeling. So I'll explain channeling, that I want to go back and give some context around intuition, because I think it's important that when we're talking about intuition, we're talking apples to apples, and that everyone has a simple construct to work from. You can tell I spent 30 years in corporate, right? I'm used to having to
No, I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. So a channel is somebody who has a direct line to a set of guides or a soul group or angels, and they have direct communication with this individual or group. And you'll see a number of prominent people who've done it in history. Many artists, they say, are channeling their art. Writers are channeling their writing. Um, and intuition are all of our physical senses mirrored in the intuitive world. So, for example, knowing is your mind, hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, feeling is touch. So every one of our physical senses are mirrored in intuition. And so there's a broader spectrum of information that is available when we acknowledge that we're intuitive and allow ourselves to receive the information. And what's happened is, systemically over the last several hundred years, we've turned off our intuition and we've outsourced our wisdom.
Yes.
Right?
I was just going to say that. I feel like so many people are afraid, myself included, like we question, am I intuitive? I'm not a psychic. This can't be right. But all those things you mentioned, a lot of times I think people think the only way is like to hear something clearly or possibly feel it in your gut. But all
Yeah,
those things that you mentioned, that makes so much more sense.
it does. And for the purposes of giving ourselves, because we're going to hear this differently as I share it, and the audience an opportunity to begin to identify what may be their types of intuition. I believe we have all of them, but some are stronger, some are more accepted. Grandma just knows things, right? We've all heard that,
Yeah.
right? Grandma just knows things and she just knows. So you need to be a good girl or a good boy because grandma will know. So that would be claircognizance, which is knowing. Now, some evidence that you would be claircognizance is you think of somebody and they call.
Yeah.
That's intuition. It would be you think to yourself, oh, I need to pick that up at the grocery store. You're actually not out, but when you pull it out of the fridge, it's not to your standard, so you need a new one. So little things like that, you just know things. Oh, I'm going to turn down this street and take a different route today. Then you find out there's a car accident or there's construction, or the way you normally go is impeded by something. This is claircognizance. So hearing can run a full spectrum of intuition. Hearing can be hearing voices around you, and that can be really disconcerting and scary. It can be hearing voices in your head, also disconcerting and scary. It can also be when our attention is drawn to a word or phrase that we hear repeatedly throughout the day. That's also clairaudience. So it's our ability to hear. So basically, our guides look at us and say, okay, what is the easiest way for me to get my human's attention? And how can I get them to listen to the wisdom I want to share with them, to the direction I want to give them? Because we're surrounded by guides and angels who want to help us.
Wow. And so can we improve our ability to listen to them if we just, instead of, I know I tend to be very logical and linear. That's changing throughout my journey. However, if I just, instead of second guessing, just follow what is happening and just start trusting it, will it happen more? And will
Yes.
I have things become maybe more in alignment and not butt up against so many things maybe in my
Yeah,
life?
100%. The more you listen, or acknowledge your knowing, or acknowledge your seeing, or acknowledging the empathy, because everybody on the planet is an empath. We all have that fight or flight, go, no go feeling.
Yeah.
And the more you acknowledge it, the more it will happen. And the better you will get at discerning what information wants to be received. And it's just like the piano, practice, 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 and trust, right? I mean, if you get a message to turn left and you say, screw that, I'm going straight. Well, then you're going to have, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of ignoring your intuition.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to sit in traffic for an extra 20 minutes.
So you mentioned the word trust, and a lot of my the people that I work with, so a lot of my audience are new to the spiritual path. They're, something has prompted them in their life to start seeking more than what they have been taught throughout their lives. A lot of my audience comes from a Christian upbringing, and so therefore, if we hear a voice or we get the tingles on our arms, we think it's negative. It's like it's the devil. It's something evil. And I've learned that that's not true. But how do you speak to that, or how do you discern in those moments?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that the people who are receiving these nudges from their soul self, from God, from the angels, it's because they're so deeply loved. Your angels, your soul, God loves you so much. It makes me cry because they want more for you than you're willing to give yourself. And that's what this is all about, right? They really do. If they could give you all of your heart's dreams and lay it out on a buffet feast table, they would give that to you. But it's free will on the planet. We're allowed to say no. So we have to overcome our challenges and our beliefs that distance us from our internal wisdom. From our internal wisdom. One of the most important things, if I could teach this to everybody, is don't outsource your wisdom. When you're looking for a coach, when you're looking for a mentor, when you're looking for an advisor, when you're looking to bring somebody into your business, you want that person to teach you to be the best you that you can be, not to tell you what to do. but to help you find what is the right way for you. So, and this is a little bit controversial, and I'm going to tread lightly. When we look at how our political systems, how our religious systems, how our education systems are all set up, they're funnels, right? They're funnels of belief systems that tell us we need to move in this direction, that is the right and correct, just, honest thing to do. This is what we've been taught. And this is what I call living by societal programming, living by default. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not an either or, but here's the piece that's missing. If you take all those societal norms, all those belief systems, no matter where they originate from, education, socio-political, economic, religion, if you take them, close your eyes and say it out loud and feel how it makes you feel in your body, you will be able to discern what your relationship to that information is. Powerful, right?
I love that. I actually just hosted a retreat this weekend, and that was one of the things we did. And in meditation, my co-host just said like 6 different words and feel how your body responds to it. And it was fascinating. There were some words that we all just instantly felt like constricted and we wanted it out of our bodies. And so I love that because that's just a great way for people to start tapping into, like you said, really anything. Like, how does it resonate in our body? Because isn't our body such a good tool that, for this learning that we're going through? We have all these guides, but that's one tool that they don't have, that we're blessed to have if we pay attention and listen to it.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's 100% correct. And let me also say that this is the beginning of developing your intuition. When you begin to trust yourself, it's easier because you now have a yes, no switch, right? This is good, or this is not good, or yeah, that's all right. It's kind of a neutral and I can choose to do it or not. Then you begin to develop all of your other intuitive senses. And that's when we start receiving the wisdom from our guides. And it's a powerful, that's our first job on this planet. Our first job is to improve ourselves and to grow our wisdom, not what somebody else tells us.
Oh, I love that. Don't outsource your wisdom. That's a great piece of wisdom right there. Teresa, how did you get started in this? Have you always been intuitive, or was there an event that happens?
I was born intuitive. I have always been intuitive. And I was born into a very muggle family. And it was confusing.
What do you mean by muggle? I've heard that term before.
Yeah. So Harry Potter reference, and it means that my family is not intuitive. They don't
Okay.
naturally have the gifts. Their gifts were not wide open when they were born. Like, I have memories of being a baby and interacting with my guides. I have memories of being a toddler and watching the energy around adults when they lied or made decisions that weren't beneficial for them. And it was very confusing. And it created a very unsafe and unstable environment for me. So I had to learn how to assimilate. So when I talk about living by default, oh, I know it so well because I did it for so many years. I tried so hard to not ignore my intuition, but push it into the background. so that I could be normal and I can interact with the world in the way that I saw everybody else doing it. It was, and I can remember small things like my mother's cooking dinner at the stove. And I walk up and I thought, I just have to talk about this with her. And so I said, Mom, can I share something with you? And she said, of course. And I said, you know, when I was shot in the back in the past life, sometimes it still bothers me. And she just went, dinner will be ready in 15 minutes, sweetheart. She didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, there was no context in her world to respond to me. And I can remember being in the third grade and just screaming in my mind at the universe, I'm done. I don't want this. This is not comfortable for me. I just want to leave. And then they showed me a past life that I had in Europe where I was kind of a English shaman, or I would help people with tinctures and healing potions, and I would take care of animals. And I lived by myself in the woods, and it was peaceful. And I lived this really long life, and I was just so happy. And so to me, that was the universe coming back and saying, no, 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 you will find peace. You will find happiness. Keep going. It's okay. We've got you.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was a different upbringing, that's for sure.
Well, I can relate. I actually remember choosing my life, choosing this life. And of course, I learned really early on not to bring it up because everyone, same thing, like change the subject. That didn't happen. That must have been a dream. Well, it was the strongest dream I ever had because eventually later in my life, I pursued understanding that there's other people that remember that as well. So was there a time at what point did you decide to really let the gifts in and move into this? Because you also said that you worked in corporate world for quite some time.
Yeah, I did. And I really love business. I really enjoy it and I'm good at it. I made it up to the executive suite, and um, I love the mentoring and growing staff, managing staff, teams, large groups. I would say in 2000 is about the time that I started looking at it again. I played with it off and on, and I would attend classes and I would do things. But in 2000, I started bringing it in much more intentionally and saying, okay, I'm going to start listening. I'm going to start living. And in hindsight, I look back and some of the best decisions I ever made were supported by my intuition. My intuition was saying, no, go in this direction because that is going to be the best for the company. That's the way the company is going to leverage XYZ to attain the results that we were looking for. And so I began to play in the background, and people began to trust my intuition. They would know that if I said something, that there's a strong likelihood it would work out in our favor. And which led me into consulting, and it was a lot of fun. But really and truly, it was when COVID hit and the world got quiet, and I could go within and just really explore the playground of my intuition. And that's when the channeling started happening. My guides came in and said, okay, buckle up, Buttercup, it's time to go. And I said,
I say that
okay,
too.
where
I
are
love
we
that
going?
saying. Wow. Yeah. When it's time, right? I talked about that with a lot of guests where there was, God was like it's time for this, and you might as well listen because otherwise, your other option isn't going to be that great. And when it's time, it's time. So I have a couple of questions. I want to get to the channeling, but as a business owner myself, my husband and I own several businesses in the real estate and construction industry. And sometimes I find that the question or the issue that we're facing feels so intense, like so much pressure, that it's hard for me to clearly get an intuitive answer because I have so much emotion
Yeah.
around it. How would you advise somebody in that situation? Advise me now. Audience can apply it to your situation. But how do you advise me to, like, how do you get a clear answer when you've got so much emotion and you know, at the
So much
time?
going on within you that you can't
Yeah.
discern what is accurate and what is just response or reaction to outside
Yes.
stimuli. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I have a whole series of um, videos on my YouTube channel that talk about this. It's called Create Clarity. How do we do that? Because that ultimately is what we're all seeking, right? We all want to find that tool that works for me. So, first of all, not everything works for everyone. There's
Mhm.
3 objectives that you want to meet. You want to become neutral, so release all those emotions. You want to be patient for the right information to come through. And you want to be curious,
Mm.
because often we come in with preset expectations or answers based on our past knowledge and information. And that's good. But when we look at the accuracy of information, our mind is maybe third place. You talked about it before. Our emotions, our feelings, this feels like the right direction, is one
Mm.
of the best tools we have for discerning what's optimal, right? Number 2 is our intuition and our spirituality. And that could come in the form of whatever intuitive gift. For example, when I woke up this morning, I'm looking at moving, and I said to the universe, I would like to see the state that I'm supposed to move to 3 times. Don't care how, don't care when, just by the end of the day, if you provide me with 3 states, 1 state 3 times, then I'll know that that's the direction I should begin to look. Now, it doesn't mean I'll land there. That means that's the next step, right?
Yeah.
I may stop over in Atlanta and end up in Atlanta and go, oh, this is it. I'm here, but I'm on my way to some other city, right?
Was
So,
Florida one of those states?
yes, it is.
That is interesting.
Isn't
Wow.
that interesting?
Yes. But
So that's
I love that though. Like it could send you in the direction, not necessarily meaning that is the destination.
correct. That's really
Right.
important.
Yeah.
That's really important. Your job is to take the next step, not to prescribe the destiny. Because
Mhm.
when you prescribe the destiny, you lose the magic,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so our intuition, our spirituality, our empathy, our feelings are all some of the best indicators of what's optimal for us. Do you know what's not one of our best tools?
What?
Our brain.
Our logical mind. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It gets in the way of truth so many times. I told you at the beginning, I tended to always be very logical and linear. And I would get an intuitive answer and go, that cannot be the answer because XYZ in my logical mind. And then mess it all up. We should have done the intuitive answer in the first place. And
Yeah.
so that's something that I've worked on the past several years, that man, that thing can get in the way. We think we're so smart.
Oh, we're not. And let me give you context, right? So you feel better about, and listen, I spent many years doing the exact, we all do that, right? And I still do it now. Sometimes I'm still like, no, I don't want to do that. Thank you very much. And then my guides laugh and they're like, all right, we'll get you there eventually. Your ability to know things is this big. It's based on what you've experienced, your history, and what you can project. Okay, so that's how big our cognitive reasoning is. Now, some people are smarter, it might be bigger, some are less, but generally we're sitting around here. Now, let's tap into God's knowing. It's infinite. It's infinite. And I'm going to remind you again, you are so loved. And the universe, God, your angels, your soul brought you here to live the best life that you would receive. You just need to open up and receive it.
Wow. It sounds so simple and it feels so hard.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's one of my favorite healers, we at our retreat, she had a huge movement, and that's what it was. Are you ready to release the resistance? And she said, I don't know, because it feels like she wants to. However,
Yeah.
it feels so safe, in that little box that we create for ourselves. And isn't it interesting? It's just literally a steel box that we make with our own thoughts, and
Yeah.
especially when we attach emotions to those thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That emotional mental wheel that we construct that is based on a belief that we created when we were 6 years old and we were rejected by our neighbor because we were too short or too tall or too slow or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
The secret is you never stop resetting that trust button.
Mm.
And every time you allow yourself to move into it, it gets stronger and you get stronger. And the choice point gets easier, but it doesn't go away. That's free will. We're allowed to say no to anything we want, anything.
Mm.
And so it's the opportunity continues to the end of your life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a destination with this awakening and evolving with our intuition and spiritually, or it just always is evolving and changing and growing? Do
It's
you,
always evolving. Yeah.
from what you see, I think this answer is probably pretty clear. Do you believe that we're at a time in the world where more and more people are becoming more intuitive and more in touch? And why is that?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, yes, we're all opening up to our intuition because we're beginning to see that there are, the world is becoming more transparent, right? That we no longer rely on news or conversation to receive information. And we're beginning to see pieces of things in the world that don't align to our value system, like war and genocide and all the things that are happening. And
Yeah.
we're beginning to speak up. And I actually did a piece about generational evolution, and the millennials were the first ones to start this. They were the ones who came in and said, no, that's wrong. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? We're not doing that. And no, you're not going to treat me like that. And hello, Me Too, right? The Me Too movement.
Yeah. Yeah. As a
So,
business owner, I always say, I was like, who are these people? Why won't they work? And then within a year, I was like, holy shit, I love them. I love that they're doing this and I am on board, you know?
yep. Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
as an executive and a hiring manager at the time, I'm like, damn, these people got some information we need to know about. They have got it going on.
Yeah.
They created boundaries and said, no, I'm not going to work 60 hours a week because that's not healthy. And no, I want a life. And anyways, all of that. And so we have this transparency occurring around the world. We have generations, I mean, the alphas, the little ones that are coming up now are really all about justice and truth and doing what's right, right?
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
they're 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 adamant that
I have a
nobody gets hurt.
4-year-old. Yep, I have a 4-year-old and he is like that. And you know what doesn't work with them also is because I said so. Or
Yeah,
because, like just because I'm the adult, he's like, you said it to me. Why can't I do that? There is literally no hierarchy at all. And
yeah.
it's way more than any other child I've ever been around. And he's raised the same. They have different information. And I kind of love it too. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
buckle up.
And, and buckle up, Buttercup, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're coming in with their gifts more and more turned on. Now, why is this? So let's look at this from the big picture. Why is this happening? Our earth is evolving. And you hear all this dimensional talk, and yes, that's applicable, but let's simplify it. Let's make it attainable. We're raising our vibration to hold more love. We're raising our vibration to hold more intuition. We're raising our vibration to become our own wisdom keepers. We're raising our vibration to match that of the planet. And if you look at the geomagnetic activity, the solar flares and the solar storms that are bombarding the Earth, NASA and NOAA have shifted their predictions to we're going to reach the peak in 2025, 2026 to we're in the peak. And we don't know how long this is going to last because this is unprecedented. We've never seen this before. So the Earth, she is evolving and she is raising her vibration. So we're at choice. We can join her and have fun and live the best life we can imagine, or we can stay stuck in our ideals and beliefs and constructs that make us feel safe and worthy, and everything is predictable. That box that you took. Well, most of us are blowing up the box, and some of us are keeping it. And I want to tell you something that I think is vital. No matter what you choose, if you want to hold on to your box, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with choosing to stay exactly where you're at. That may be what your soul needs to evolve. You can always change your mind. And it's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. So that's part of the evolutionary tract, is learning to live in the and, right? In the and. This is right and this is right. This is good and this is good. Just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean they're wrong. It means they're different.
Yeah. And what a boring world it would be if we all were the same.
Yeah.
I heard another teacher just actually this morning on something I was watching, and he said, if you think you're spiritually evolved or enlightened, go spend an hour having a conversation with someone whose beliefs are completely different from you and see if you can accept them and just sit in the and like you're saying, or if you start judging, like,
Yeah.
what a good test and trigger. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I could talk about that topic all day, but I want to bring us back to the channeling because
Yeah.
that's something I feel like is unique and different. You may tell me differently from that, but explain that. Explain the channeling. Who are you connecting with? How do you know that they're benevolent? How does it happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So channeling is a form of knowing. And when I channel, I use all of my intuitive gifts. Sometimes I'll hear a word or a phrase, and they're very specific. And I'll explain who they are in a minute. They're very specific about the words they want me to use because words have power, words have vibration. Sometimes I will see an image or a picture, or they'll show me like a film of what they want me they want to share through me. It enhances the message because not only is the message that I'm channeling verbal, it's vibratory. Does that make sense? So the words, even as I'm speaking now, um, it's vibrationally enhanced so that when you hear the information that I share, that your body receives it in a way that goes, this feels right to me. We'll receive this. No, not ready for that one. And so it's practicing intuitive discernment. So I'm unique in how I channel. There's a spectrum of channeling from full-on trance, where you literally take your personality and move off to the side, and whatever being you're channeling, whether it's an angel or a guide, comes straight through you. And there's receiving intuition, receiving channeling, and then speaking it. I'm kind of in the middle. So I have, and I'll describe what it looks like. I have this sort of bowl of receptivity. It's like a bowl of receptivity that sits above my head where all the information comes in. And then it comes into me, and I tune into what wants to be shared. Now I channel 3 different guides. And let's see if anybody wants to make an appearance. We are the 99. We are with Teresa to assist humans in the evolutionary process. Our focus as a group of beings, angels, and guides are to give Teresa the information we think is appropriate for the audience that is receiving the information. We go through time and space and we assess who is listening, and then we bring in the vibratory expression of what wants to be received in support of the human evolution. And we have been with her whole life. We are her primary guiding tool, guiding system. And we are delighted to be able to be a asset for not only her own evolution, for that of the planet. That is Teresa's primary mission, is to move in and support the evolution of human beings and normalize spirituality, as you may have heard her speak about. Okay, so that's the 99, and they are a collective of guides that I work with. Then I have another group called
Can I ask a question quick? Are they a collective of guides from like, heavenly realms or from the future or like?
Yeah, great question. So they are guides who have been on Earth, died, and now they've ascended.
Okay.
They are angels. They are from all times and space, because time is a spiral, right?
Yeah.
So, and 99 is a numerological reference. It's not the number of beings that I work with. It actually vacillates. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. And I never count them because I don't care. Um, and I'm good with big picture. I don't care about the details. And it's so funny. So it's all of the above. They come from the future, they come from the past. They have some understanding of how humanity works, what it's like to be a human. So they're taking all the wisdom they've gained from their lives and their experiences and sharing it with us. And of course, they're stripping away all of the beliefs that they had when they were in the life they were in. And then the second, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
The second group is Divine Feminine, and it's a sisterhood of light, and their primary purpose is to balance the divine female on the planet, because we've had an overabundance of electric male energy. That's that command control that we see still in corporate and politics and all these different places. And so it's bringing in that vibration to the planet.
I love
And
that.
then the third group is star seeds, and they're beings from all different places, all different walks of life, not only from this planet, but other places. They're a very significant council who are here to help us work on systems, socioeconomical, religion, education. How do we take the systems that are currently in place and replace them with ones that are more humane, more kind, more community oriented, more, I live in the city, okay? And I walk anywhere between 3 and 5 miles a day. And there's constantly homeless, hungry, drug addicted.
Mhm.
How dare we allow people to be hungry, for kids to be hungry? How dare we?
Yeah.
How dare we allow somebody to sleep outside when we have so much available? To me, it is one of humanity's greatest failings.
Yeah.
So those are the systems,
Did they feel different when they come through? Is that how you know? Yeah,
oh
very
yeah.
different.
They're very powerful. Like the 99 are powerful, but they're laced with play and love and fun and joy. And because that's how we evolve, by holding those vibrations. But the star seeds are very powerful and really committed to seeing us do better, to just giving us every opportunity to do better. Yeah.
I love that about the systems. I've been really feeling that coming through too, that it's time for the big change. And, change is always hard, but something better is coming on the other side. Are we definitely going to evolve towards the better, or is it possible that we'll destroy ourselves with an atomic bomb or something?
Yeah, we have now successfully eliminated that eventuality. That won't happen.
I
We are
felt
going
that
to evolve.
too. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt recently, was it recently? I felt recently, like in this past, maybe like 2024, that really became no longer an option.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Such a good stuff, Teresa. My gosh. We're gonna have to do this again because I could talk to you all day about this. So I have two questions for you. one is a very practical question. What is a book that you would recommend that our audience read?
Oh, 100%. Anita Moorjani's Sensitive is the New Strong. It
Mm,
talks about being an empath, which every one of us are, and she gives practical tools. And she does it in a way that is accessible to every single human. Every single one of us can read it and go, oh, that makes sense. Well, yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
very cool. Her first book, Dying to Be Me, was one of the books I read when I was in my one of the many dark nights of the soul that really got me on this path. Okay, my final question, and I think you've said it a few times, but I want you to repeat it, is what is one thing that you wish everyone in the world knew?
How incredibly amazing you are, how loved you are, and how much everyone in your life, all of your guides, is working to support your best life.
Mm. Well, on that note, thank you so much for being here today, Teresa. How do our guests reach you if somebody wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. TeresaWarnstaff.com. I'll share a couple of things that I have going on. I have a 6-month immersion class that begins in September. It does require an interview because you're going to change your life. And people who sign up for this class, I've got people who have done it 4 times and will continue because it's that life-changing.
Wow.
That's called The Alchemy of an Intentional Life. I also have a trust circle that occurs every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. It is free. You're welcome to join us. Go to my website, sign up, and I'll send you the Zoom link so that you can participate in a very loving, open, supportive community who will help you evolve in a really great way. I also have a YouTube channel under Teresa Wornstaff where a lot of the things that I've talked about are offered for free. So you can take little classes or listen to podcasts where I interview people who I think have very special gifts and can enhance your life. So lots of ways for us to play and get to know each other.
Wonderful. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have
My
a great
pleasure.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.